Hi Jay, nice to see you again this week. What I talked about last week was the model Deepseek, just not by name, and without the realization of the level of impact it was going to have within just like a day or two. So I feel like I can't not talk about it. Why is it making such a big deal? A few things. One is that it is as good as OpenAI's best publicly available model, O1. Not only is Deepseek as good as the current best models, it's also open source. So what does that mean? It doesn't mean that they gave their code. But it does mean that they gave us a lot of details for how they built it, and they have basically just given it to the internet. So people who are concerned about, it's based in China, so China will get our data. No, because they made it open source, that's not true. If you use their API, which is like go on the website, sure, yeah. But if you download it off of Hugging Face, which is just like the main place people go to download these models, and then you take the code from GitHub, which is where most people get code, you can run it on any server anywhere. You can actually even run it in your own room, but you have to pay about $6,000 worth of chips. But again, like going back to what I was saying last week, that would mean you can make at least your running of it green energy. So hence the double whammy of you can choose it for it to be green, and that AI can do whatever you tell it to do, which it does head in the direction of chaos, but it does at least head us somewhat away from the centralized power of big tech, which was making nobody particularly optimistic. So that's another win. There's more than that why it's really exciting. Because, of course, then big tech's going to get a bigger model, and you can actually hope that the trend of people giving their models away free will continue, which is it's hard to believe that will continue. A really important thing that this team did is they did it for really cheap. What's surprising is they managed to do it with 20 times less money. And not only that, it's also 20 times cheaper to run it. It gives a lot of hope that everyone else has 20 times more ability to compete with big tech than they previously thought, which is a lot, right? This current breakthrough shows that the narrative that the biggest budget gets the best AI has been temporarily disproven. The gap between us and big tech just got smaller again, which is to say we have more time. We have more time to bring change. But all of this doesn't change what's happening in the US politically. Everything you were saying yesterday still applies. All that infrastructure is still being built, and currently it looks like that it's going to be increasingly run on burning the world. So just because this model is open source doesn't change any of that. Big money still builds the best infrastructure. It's just, it might not be in as high demand as possible. We may be able to get a lot further without a reliance on burning world money. I think we are at a moment in time, both with open source models like Deepseek and giving us the possibility to take the power of AI into our own hands, and also the threat of the Trump presidency threatening direction towards saving the world environmentally and climate-wise. That means if anybody is going to do it, it can be us. Because someone should, and there's no time like right now to do that. So I'm really excited if that's what we wanted to do. Yes. If we really want to push for green ethical AI, I think this is the moment to do it. And it's going to take a lot more than us to do this. As you said, we need a grassroots movement. So, as you know, I've been thinking a lot about that. The bringing of many people together to do a thing that is greater than what any one person could do. I really do think we are at a moment where a lot can happen. Really bad things can happen. And that's probably where I started this. But I think a lot of what's actually going to make this a good thing is that we excite everybody by all the amazing things we can make happen, which aren't inevitable. People need to do them for them to happen, and they very much could go the opposite way. But if we do them, then like, we live in a moment of time of greater change than any time before. We live in a very specific moment now where the agency of the average person has been specifically increased. And we are very lucky to have been given the minds and the connections and the opportunities that we have. We are really well set up. We need each other. We need a group of people. We should aim to be a bunch of communities living in person in the country or the world where we are. Separately, we should try to do things. But that part of it doesn't necessarily have to be limited to in person. The process is the product. That was the other thing I wanted to say. We want to build the grassroots movements to reflect the world we want to see. If we want people to live in love and friendship with each other, then we need to do that ourselves. If we want companies to be run, built off top of that, then in our own very limited way, we should aim to do that as well. We need to live the way that we want to, both as a proof of concept to ourselves, and we need to do it to proof of concept to the world. But we also need to have initiatives so that the world can know what we think and it can understand what we're doing. It can be persuaded by both of our words and our actions. A real life organization existing that both has the vision for the future and currently lives with that vision and is headed toward that vision, I think that just brings a different level of hope. Yeah. I'd be really excited if that was something you wanted to do. Thanks, Jay. Thank you for doing this with me.